Right now, your brain is quietly trying to shut you down. Not because you're tired, not because it's late, but because nothing internet celebrities invisible alone. You've felt it 1,000 times. A long meeting, a slow lecture, a quiet drive on an empty road, and suddenly your eyelids start to feel impossibly heavy. You weren't sleepy 10 minutes ago. You're not sleepy when something exciting happens. So why does boredom hit you like a tranquilizer dart? The answer is stranger than you just need more coffee. Here's the real question worth asking. Not why boredom feels bad, but why your brain treats nothing happening as a signal to power down, as if low stimulation is a kind of permission slip to sleep. Because that's what's actually going on inside your skull right now. Your brain is not a passive recorder of the world. It's a prediction machine, constantly scanning for things that matter. And when nothing matters, it starts switching off the lights. To understand it, you have to meet a tiny network deep inside your brainstem. It's called the reticular activating system, and it's basically your internal volume knob for being awake. Neuroscientists sometimes describe it as the brain's arousal system, the thing that decides how on you are at any given moment. When something surprising happens, this little network floods your brain with alertness signals. Your pupils widen, your heart picks up, the world snaps into focus. But when input gets repetitive and predictable, that same network does the opposite. It dials the volume down. And your job, suddenly, becomes very hard to do. Here's the strange part. Your brain isn't getting tired from doing too much. It's getting tired from doing too little. Think about that for a second. You can stare at a wall for 20 minutes and feel more drained than after a 20-minute conversation that made you laugh. The wall didn't ask anything of you, and that's exactly the problem. Boredom isn't the absence of work for your brain. It's a very specific kind of work. Your brain keeps scanning the environment for something useful, something new, something worth predicting. And when scan after scan comes back empty, it starts to question whether being awake is even worth the energy. Because staying alert is expensive. Your brain uses roughly 1/5 of your body's energy, even when you're sitting still doing nothing. So evolution built a very reasonable rule into the system: if nothing important is happening, conserve fuel. Lower the alertness, slow the heart, drift. And that drift feels exactly like the heavy-eyed slump you get during a dull video call. Now here's where it gets weirder. Your ancestors didn't have meetings or freeway commutes, but they did have long stretches of low stimulation time. Quiet afternoons, calm nights, hours when there was no threat, no hunt, no urgent task. In those windows, sleeping or half-dozing wasn't laziness. It was smart energy management. A body that could power down when the world was safe and boring had more fuel left for when the world suddenly wasn't. So the same reflex that helped a quiet ancestor rest under a tree is the one slamming your eyelid shut during a budget presentation. Your nervous system can't really tell the difference between safe and uneventful forest and safe and uneventful spreadsheet. To it, both look like green lights to start shutting down. There's another piece of the puzzle, and it lives in a chemical called adenosine. While you're awake, adenosine slowly builds up in your brain like sand collecting in an hourglass. The more it accumulates, the sleepier you feel. It's part of what makes you crash at the end of a long day. Caffeine, by the way, works by temporarily blocking adenosine from docking onto its receptors, which is why coffee feels like a pause button on tiredness. But adenosine isn't the whole story of boredom sleepiness. Because you can be wide awake at midnight watching something gripping and barely conscious at 2 p.m. watching something dull. Same body, same chemicals, wildly different alertness. The difference is engagement. Engagement keeps your arousal system actively firing. Boredom lets it idle. Try this right now. Notice your posture, your breathing, the muscles around your eyes. When you're genuinely interested in something, your body subtly leans in. Your blinks slow down, your breathing steadies into focus. When you're bored, your shoulders sink. Your breathing softens, your eyes start to lose their grip on the screen. Your body is literally rehearsing sleep in slow motion while you sit there fighting it. And there's a quieter system involved too. Researchers have studied something called the default mode network, a set of brain regions that lights up when you're not focused on the outside world. It's the part of you that takes over during daydreams, mental wandering, and that fuzzy "where did the last 10 minutes go" feeling. When external input gets boring, your brain often hands the microphone over to this internal network. Suddenly, you're not really in the room anymore. You're replaying conversation from last week, or wondering what's for dinner, or staring through the slide instead of at it. That handoff is part of why bored attention feels so slippery. You're not fully awake to the room, and not fully asleep either. You're hovering in a low-power in-between state. And the longer that state goes on, the harder it gets to climb back out. Quick pause. I'm curious about you. What's the situation where boredom hits you the hardest? A specific class, a certain meeting, a particular drive? Drop it in the comments. I read them, and the patterns people share are honestly fascinating to me. It's wild how often the same kinds of situations come up across totally different lives. Okay, back into your brain. Here's a twist most people don't realize. Boredom sleepiness isn't just a glitch. It might actually be useful. Some researchers think boredom is a kind of internal alarm, a signal that whatever you're doing isn't meeting your brain's need for meaningful input. The drowsiness isn't punishment, it's a nudge. Your brain is essentially saying, "This isn't worth my best attention, so I'm going to start conserving until something better shows up." That's why a sudden noise, a new face, or a surprising idea can yank you from half asleep to fully alert in under a second. The system was never broken, it was waiting. This also explains one of the weirdest things about long, boring tasks. You can feel exhausted after them and energized after harder, more engaging ones. It's not the difficulty that drains you, it's the mismatch between effort and reward. Your brain spent energy staying minimally awake for something it didn't find worth a spin. And that particular flavor of tiredness, the heavy, foggy, slightly irritable kind, is almost a signature of understimulation, not overwork. Monotonous environments are especially good at triggering it. Steady hums, repetitive visuals, predictable rhythms. These are the conditions in which your alertness system has the least to grab onto. It's part of why long highway drives at night can feel dangerously sleep-inducing, even when you slept fine the night before. Researchers who study driver fatigue have long noted this effect, sometimes called highway hypnosis, where steady, unchanging scenery can pull drivers into a strange, low-arousal state. The road isn't tiring your muscles, it's starving your brain of novelty. And novelty, it turns out, is one of the few things your alertness system reliably wakes up for. New song, a different route, a surprising thought, a genuinely unexpected joke. All of these poke the system awake, even if you were drooping a minute earlier. It's also why fidgeting helps. When you tap your foot, doodle, or shift in your seat during something dull, you're essentially feeding tiny bursts of input into a system that's begging for something to notice. You're hacking your own arousal network with the only stimulation you have available, your own body. So the next time your eyelids start sliding down during something boring, try to catch what's happening underneath. That heaviness isn't weakness, and it isn't really exhaustion either. It's a very old, very efficient brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, saving energy when the world stops asking anything of it. You're not failing to stay awake. You're watching a survival reflex, written long before meetings and lecture halls existed, decide that this particular moment isn't worth the fuel, which is kind of beautiful in a weird way. Inside your head, an ancient energy-saving system is still running quietly in the background, ready to wake up the second something genuinely matters. It's not lazy, it's loyal to a version of your life that needed to rest whenever it safely could. So the next time you're fighting to keep your eyes open in a dull room, you'll know exactly what's going on. Your brain isn't broken, and you're not weak. You're just standing inside a very old reflex designed for a world where boredom was a luxury and stillness was survival. If this made you see your own sleepy brain a little differently, hit that like button. It genuinely helps tiny science channels like this one reach more curious people. Subscribe to Bodyquirk for more of these little tours through the strange machinery you live inside every day. And in the comments, tell me, what's the most boring situation your brain has ever tried to shut you down in? I'll see you in the next one.